The question on everyone's mind these days is, will there be a recession in 2024? With all the economic uncertainty and volatility we've seen lately, it's a valid concern. I've been closely following the economic indicators and analyzing the data, and I want to share my thoughts on the likelihood of a recession next year. To start, let's define what exactly a recession is. It's a significant decline in economic activity that lasts for months or even years, characterized by high unemployment, low or negative GDP growth, and reduced consumer spending and business investment. The classic definition is 2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP. Now, what are the factors that could potentially push us into a recession in 2024? One of the biggest ones, in my opinion, is the high inflation we've been experiencing. Inflation hit a 40-year high in 2022, with the consumer price index rising over 9% at one point. This has eroded consumer purchasing power and put a strain on household budgets. The Federal Reserve has been aggressively raising interest rates to try to cool demand and bring inflation under control. But there's a risk that they could overshoot and tip the economy into a recession in the process. Another potential trigger for a recession is the ongoing geopolitical tensions and supply chain disruptions. The war in Ukraine has roiled global energy and food markets, and China's zero-COVID policies have led to factory shutdowns and shipping logjams. This has made it harder for businesses to get the materials they need, driving up costs. If these supply chain issues persist, it could further stoke inflation and weigh on economic growth. We also have concerns about a potential housing market correction. Home prices skyrocketed during the pandemic, driven by low interest rates and strong demand. But with mortgage rates now over 6%, housing affordability has plummeted. This could lead to a slowdown in home sales and construction, which would ripple through the broader economy. A bursting of the housing bubble could be a major drag. However, it's not all doom and gloom. There are also reasons to be optimistic that we may avoid a recession in 2024. For one, the labor market remains very strong, with unemployment near 50-year lows. Robust job growth and rising wages are supporting consumer spending. The banking system is also on much firmer footing than it was before the Great Recession, with higher capital requirements and better risk management. Additionally, the Fed has signaled that it plans to slow the pace of rate hikes going forward, which could give the economy a bit more breathing room. And if inflation continues to moderate, it would reduce the need for such aggressive monetary tightening. The economy also has some momentum coming out of 2023, with GDP growth expected to be positive for the full year. So while the risks of a recession in 2024 are elevated, it's not a foregone conclusion. A lot will depend on how quickly inflation comes down, whether the Fed can engineer a soft landing, and whether geopolitical tensions and supply chain issues ease. The housing market is also a wild card. My best guess is that we'll see a period of very slow growth or even a mild recession in 2024, but not a repeat of the deep downturn we saw in 2008 to 2009. The economy is in a fundamentally stronger position, with a more resilient financial system and a more flexible labor market. But it's going to be a bumpy ride, and we're not out of the woods yet. So what should you do to prepare? If you have debt, especially variable rate debt like credit cards or adjustable rate mortgages, it's a good idea to pay that down as quickly as possible before rates rise further. Build up your emergency savings if you can, to give yourself a buffer in case of job loss or unexpected expenses. And if you're investing for the long term, try to tune out the short-term noise and stay disciplined. Recessions are a normal part of the economic cycle, and markets have always recovered eventually.